We good? Okay, the McHenry County Public Transportation Advisory Committee, we're gonna call it to order with the roll call. First, I'm Tom Riley, Pioneer Center.
Kim Hankins, McHenry County College.
Scott Hennings, McHenry County DOT.
Drew Duffin, McHenry County DOT.
Shayla Nagel, McHenry County Council of Governments.
Sarah Schrum, Senior Care Volunteer Network.
Doug Martin, City of McHenry.
Anna Valenzuela,
New person.
new person, McHenry County DOT.
Ted Clark, also new with the McHenry County DOT.
And then our audience.
Oh, Carolyn Campbell, McHenry County Board District 3.
Pamela Altoff, McHenry County Board District 6.
Gary Scott, Pace Suburban Bus, Senior Project Manager in Paratransit.
Ed Gallagher, Pace Suburban Bus Community Relations for McHenry County.
Kate Peterson, RTA Mobility Outreach Coordinator.
Gary Barla, McHenry Township Supervisor.
Terry Capel, RTA Citizens Advisory Board, non-voting member representing McHenry riders.
Thank you. And then the minutes approval from our last meeting, which was May 1st. May 1st, 2005. I was there, so I could make a motion.
Second.
And Sarah seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Saying I wasn't there.
Okay. So that passed. And then the public comment, do we have?
I don't have anyone who's signed in.
On the list. Okay, is there anyone who has a public comment? This time. Okay. Then, when I nod to, I don't know, but I guess to Drew for the old business.
Sure. So we'll start with the MC Ride program update. So bear with me while I scroll down through the board here. So just providing some basic information on the last 3 months of data that we have here for April, May, and June. We're showing around 8,000 rides per month. And just breaking things down by origin and destination here. I apologize for not having probably as robust a report as you're used to here. It was, I'm still learning the ropes with some of this data presentation side of the position here. So just giving you a little bit of clarity here. If there are any questions on this, I'm happy to answer them or hand it over to Scott who may be able to give you a better answer. But.
Yeah, and I'm going to get more into some of the program-specific stuff later in the agenda. So this is just sort of a high-level overview, and then I'll get more specific later on too.
Sure. So if there are no questions, I'll move on to the MC Ride Connect program update. And for that, this also didn't make it into the packet. I do apologize, but I do have a spreadsheet here to share. So this is a summary sheet that we threw together. I'm not certain that we ever had a full breakdown of what we've seen for MC Ride Connect over the past, year at this point. I will say we only have data through May. There seems to be about a 3-month lag time between the close of a month and when we're able to process the data or receive it from Uber and Pace. So what we're seeing is some pretty consistent growth. I'll direct everyone's attention to this row here as I highlighted. This is the % increase in, I believe it's trips over the course of the past 12 months. So gigantic spike as we were getting started there back in September. But other than that, pretty consistent double-digit growth starting in January of this past year. Other highlights include the number of riders that we've had. Now, what's been interesting, at least on the administrative side, is we'll have more folks who are signed up for this program than are currently using it. I couldn't speculate as to why. I'm sure there are various reasons, but we still have seen a consistent increase in the number of unique users who are taking part in this program. And the last thing that I'll highlight here before opening it up to questions is the average cost per trip. So as part of the program here, we subsidize up to $16 in Uber trip prices after the first 4 that are paid by the user here. As you can see, we have yet to hit that on average. Looking at the raw data too, it's more often than not that someone is taking advantage of this without getting that full 16, likely because the cost of that Uber ride doesn't exceed $20 in most cases. Of course, there are probably going to be some, but again, on average, we're looking at about, well, $12 to $13 depending on the month, the number of rides, timing, length, things like that. So that's what I have in terms of highlights, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
On the budget, oh, go ahead, Ms. Althoff.
I was curious, one of the questions I would ask is those people who are signed up, do you think it's because they have discovered that we only subsidize it up to $20? And whereas $4 might be okay, anything after that might be a financial hardship, so they choose not to use it even though they recognize the value? It would be a dumb question, I don't know how to get the information, but I would just be really curious if that was, again, had anything to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know that I have an answer off the top of my head, but it's certainly something we could look into, at least directing our analysis towards for the future.
Yeah, budget-wise too, I think we're gonna have enough to get through this year. The county budgeted and appropriated, I think it was $420,000 this fiscal year, which is supposed to get us through the end of November. At, close to $30,000 a month, we're gonna, and if it grows even more than it has already, we may be bumping up on that cap. So there is a very real chance that by the October, November timeframe, we might run out of money. And then we either have to figure out maybe the program is paused until the next fiscal year kicks in, or we bring an emergency appropriation to the board for additional funds. In any case, though, our draft FY26 budget for this program, we've more than doubled the budget for this. So we're budgeting, I think, $1 million in FY26 for this program because of the growth we've seen and sort of kind of anticipating where this program's going next year.
And remind me, Scott, who has access to this program?
It's only seniors over 65 and people with a disability. So
they have the card, right?
the RTA card. So you somebody that has the RTA reduced fare or ride-free card, or if they're ADA paratransit certified, they would qualify for this program.
And the average cost per trip in an MC ride is like
$41 per trip, yeah. And the county pays half of that. So, every trip we give on MC Ride, that's a $20, $21 county cost. Compare that to this, where our average costs are in the $12, $13 range. So this has the potential to save money in the long term if we see people transition from MC Ride over to Connect.
It might be up there, is it up there? How long are those trips typically? How many miles? Do we have that?
Yep, right underneath the cost per trip there.
Ready, look at me, I'm old, I can't see it.
Understood, I was about to read it out here. So it varies from month to month, but it looks as though the sort of bracket of trip distances are between about 7.5 miles and 10 miles on the high end there, on average.
So $20 would average out to what mileage? Someone do the math for me, because again, I'm old.
So that's a little difficult, I think, for us to anticipate because that's on Uber's side. They're the ones who calculate the rates there, and that could change for a variety of reasons. Demand, whether that's especially high or especially low, time of day can factor into all of that. And I don't believe that that's information we necessarily have access to. I could be wrong, and I could look into it further. But my understanding is we're kind of at the mercy of whatever Uber sets for their rates.
And again, and I'm not asking you to do any more. Sure. I'm just wondering. Again, from, someone who deals with seniors all the time, I'm just wondering from that perspective, if there is a disincentive because it only gets me halfway to my doctor or halfway to the hospital or halfway to wherever it is I'm going. And then it does become just like other costs, it's $41 rather than, so it's just a comment.
When we developed this program last year, and we were thinking about this question of how big should the county subsidy be. What went into our decision making at the time was I went on my Uber app and I said, okay, I live in Crystal Lake, I work in Woodstock, right? So if we think of that as, yeah, a lot of folks are traveling further distances, some people are traveling less, but a Crystal Lake to Woodstock trip is roughly, at least last year, was about a $20 trip on Uber. And so we said, is that a reasonable trip to sort of maximize the assistance for somebody getting from Crystal Lake to Woodstock? If they're going further, then they're going to pay a little bit more than the $4. If they're going less than that, they're not gonna get quite as much subsidy, because the trip might only be a $10 cost, right? But I think, again, a year ago, we said, Crystal Lake to Woodstock, or, Crystal Lake to McHenry, roughly a $20 Uber ride. That was last year. It might have changed since then, I don't know.
I'm just like Terry, I've done Crystal Lake to Huntley recently, and it's less than 20, so I think
Okay, so
that 8 mile is about, 16 to 20. Terry?
Yeah, you said people with disabilities can access this program.
Right.
Isn't it fair to say that many people with disabilities are not able to use Uber or Lyft or whatever?
So yeah, there's not, to my knowledge, there aren't any wheelchair accessible Uber vehicles in McHenry County. So if you cannot transition in and out of a wheelchair, this program, as it's structured today, you would need to use the wheelchair access. So there are alternative options that nobody's taken advantage of yet. We allow people to sign up for, and Gary, correct me if I'm wrong on this, please. We have two providers. We have Uber and then we have UServe. UServe does have, as far as I know, there's a wheelchair accessible vehicle with UServe. Now, the availability of that vehicle, I can't speak to. I don't know where they're coming from, where they're located in the region, but if somebody needs that assistance, there is availability for that, but it's probably less so than somebody who just gets a normal Uber car coming to pick them up, right? So does that make sense?
Are there any statistics on how many disabled people are actually using this service?
This service?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, of all the registered users for this program, we track, are they a senior, do they have a disability, are they ADA paratransit? So we have that information.
Yes.
When it comes, and we could theoretically cross-check that list with our ridership reports that we get from PACE. We've not done that yet, but maybe for the November meeting, we could provide maybe a more detailed breakout of, of these of the 2,000 trips we gave in the month of May, what percentage of those are for people with disabilities versus seniors. I will say though, on MC Ride, again, this program is much smaller than our Dial-A-Ride program. MC Ride, we give roughly 99% of our trips on MC Ride are for people who are not in a wheelchair. They're ambulatory, they can transition in and out of a vehicle. 99% of people on our bus program do not necessarily need a wheelchair accessible vehicle. They're, it's some of them are benefiting from a wheelchair because maybe they have some mobility challenges, but they don't need it, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't be overly concerned with the lack of wheelchair accessible vehicles on this program because of the fact that MC Ride is available and can provide those trips at the same level as this does. So I know it's kind of a lot, but again, when we started this program, it was a pilot, right? We're trying to get data and learn, is this beneficial, is it not? We're willing, if this committee feels like this is not a program we want to continue going forward, we can have that discussion. But I think the data somewhat speaks for itself that there is some cost saving potential here, for us at least.
I think if the process was streamlined a little cleaner and made a little bit easier for people to initially gain access, it would be a lot more successful. I was thinking actually that I know they have to sign up for their RTA card first, and then there's a little bit of a lag in time frame before they can access and get enrolled with MC Connect because they need their RTA card. To do that, might there be a consideration at something like People in Need Forum or something like that? Is there a way to maybe have okay, RTA's right here, we're gonna help you get your RTA card, maybe in real time? I don't know, is that a pie in the sky thing? And then step over to MC Connect and have volunteers, maybe even from PTAC or anywhere else to help people access the actual program a little easier.
I think
that was something I was thinking about, because I think that's a barrier, I think that's a challenge for people.
It is, and I will say the RTA has been at PIN like the last 5 years in a row, and they've had a computer, they're signing people up on the spot. So they do those kind of events. They're always out at other, I see them go to senior centers and sign people up there, that type of thing. But there's a lot of people that don't go to people in need or don't go to the senior centers. And how do you reach those people that are homebound, they're not connected with services like this? But yeah, I mean, that is a challenge. And honestly, we knew that getting people signed up was going to be the hardest part of this program. Because out here in McHenry County, where you don't have a lot of transit services, there's no incentive to get your RTA reduced fare card for a lot of people. They don't think that it's worth the hassle to go get. So we knew there was going to be about a year-long process of just focusing on getting people signed up for the RTA card. And then we're seeing our actual users continue to go up every month. And you can see down here, it was very slow going for a while. We had trickle, here, a couple people here and there, and then all of a sudden we started to see it really increase. Hopefully it'll continue going up and people can take advantage of it going forward. And we kicked around. I think this committee was helpful last year in helping us figure out how to weed out people that shouldn't be using this program and how to make sure we are serving those that need it. And while having the RTA card has barriers associated with that, there was really at the time, there was no other better option available to us. We had to somehow draw that line somewhere, and the RTA card seemed to be the best place to draw that line of eligibility. But yeah, and we're gonna get more into this later, I think, under the fare discussion as well. So
if there aren't any other questions then, that'll be it in terms of the program update, so hand it back to Tom.
And then we've got our service partner updates. Gary, Ed, Kate, I'll let you
Sure.
duke it out.
Mine will be pretty short and sweet. Again, for folks that don't know me, I'm Gary Scott. I'm the Senior Project Manager at PACE and Paratransit. I manage the paratransit services, the bus contracts for Lake, McHenry, DuPage and Kane, and then the Northern Mobility Management Call Center, the NMMCC, that does trip booking, reservations, mobility planning for Lake, McHenry, and the northern part of the county. So my main updates are just that MC Ride has been consistently on-time percentage, appointment time on-time percentage, travel time of the vehicle has all been meeting our standards or exceeding it. Complaints have been at a minimum, this year. We haven't seen an increase or any real specifics on complaint types that come in through our customer relations department. Just in case you need to call or put in a complaint, you can call 800-606-1282, and they'll give you a host of options that you can put in a complaint, put in a commendation, check on your ride. As well, you can also email passenger.services@pacebus.com. And as well, you can also call me or email me. I'm pretty much available all the time. 312-341-8067, that's my direct line. And then my email is gary.scott, SCOTT, @pacebus.com. We're still hiring for staff at the contractor level at PACE, and links for that can be found. I send them to McHenry County DOT each week with an update on the service and how it's operating, so we can always forward that to you if you'd like that. Outside of that, I will pass it over to Ed unless anyone has any questions. All right.
So my printed report is in the packet. I'm going to read through some of this. So first, our ridership here in 2025, as I mentioned in previous meetings, we are continuing to see increases, strong increases within the areas in which we've invested additional services as well. So in April of 2025, we carried 7% over our 2024 levels. That was our second highest month May, we then saw another continued increase of a 4.5% increase of 24 versus 25 levels. In June, we carried over 2 million riders for an increase of 9.1% over the 2024 levels. Our 2025 ridership is continuing to rebound strongly. We're in the 80% roughly for our average weekday ridership right now. So PACE is seeing strong gains. And we're even seeing more in our frequent corridors where we've invested in our Pulse services in the northern suburbs. And we're continuing to work on investing in more of those Pulse rapid transits now in the South Cook County region. We'll probably hear more of those in the next couple of months. We'll be moving through to the next few phases in those programs. Second, PACE at the direction of the RTA, the Regional Transportation Authority, PACE held public hearings on an ADA paratransit RAP and TAP program update. The RTA passed in June an ADA paratransit action plan. The ordinance was adopted on June the 12th, Ordinance 202526. It proposed changes to our RAP and TAP program, including a capping of the number of TAP and RAP rides up to 30 rides per month. That would be the new cap. It also called for an increase in the TAP and RAP fare program. Before I go even further, RAP and TAP, for those who may not be familiar with the acronyms, is taxi access. So TAP, taxi access, and RAP is rideshare access. These are alternative programs. These are alternative options, mobility options for individuals who are ADA certified by the RTA to access user-side subsidies, either on a taxi access program is TAP within the city of Chicago. Rideshare access program are subsidies on Uber and UServe, very similar to the MC Ride Connect program. For usage on Uber or UServe. So they included that cap of 30 rides per month, increasing the fare on TAP and RAP up to $3.25 a month, as well as implementing free fixed routes for ADA certified riders. PACE already implemented this in 2024, so the action plan called for Metra and the CTA to implement that same type of a free fare program for the ADA paratransit certified riders. As in the packet, you'll see the dates in which we held those forums. We were here in McHenry on Monday, July 28th, and we were in Lake County on July the 24th. All comments that we received during these public comments will be presented to our board on Wednesday, August the 20th, for the board to review and then potentially take action on that action plan. As the public comment has closed, there's no further opportunity to provide public comment other than attending our PACE board meeting. If you would like to attend on Wednesday, August the 20th, our board is held at our Arlington Heights headquarters. More information can be found at pacebus.com. And then lastly, the new regional day pass. I know I've been talking about this last couple of meetings. We have official brochures, so I brought out a one-pager and put it on the table. Feel free to take it. It's got a really nice graphic. I'll also give a highlight. Metra has some nice videos. If you get individuals who are interested in taking the regional day pass, there's a nice how-to video on Metra's website that kind of walks you through how to access that pass. But the quick version of it, this is a single ride pass that individuals can get to ride all public transit for a single day. On PACE, that equals a 24-hour service ride, unlimited rides within that period, and the CTA as well. It's 24 hours activated on your Ventra card. The way to access it is to first buy the Metra one day pass, because that's the determination for what zone you're going to be riding from. So that kind of sets the base, and then it's a $2.50 increase on top of that Metra fare to get the unlimited rides on PACE and the CTA. You do have to have either a digital or a physical Ventra card. I know we've got some questions on that catches people up. You do have to have an active Ventra card that then will be loaded with the regional day pass, because when you ride the PACE bus or the CTA bus, you're tapping either a digital or a physical Ventra card. So that's how you get it added in. If you do not have a Ventra card added to your account, you may not be offered the $2.50 upgrade, and then you also want to make sure to upgrade your Ventra app to the most recent update. So you know it was pushed out in June So if you haven't updated your Venture app in the last couple of months, check it, because there may be an update that would allow you to purchase this regional day pass to ride all transit in the Chicagoland area. Any questions for PACE for our services?
Good.
Yes. Oh, okay. Carrie.
A couple of questions. Is the free ride affected by people who have a reduced fare permit or card?
So to qualify, you have to have this ADA paratransit certification. So for that, the ADA paratransit certification does also come with a reduced fare qualification. So PACE then opted to extend a free fare to those riders. But having the standard RTA reduced fare card does not get you a free ride. You have to have the ADA paratransit certification to get the free ride on PACE. And then as the RTA's action plan has called for, Metra and the CTA, they've called for them to institute that as well.
I believe there's also senior discounts up there, like a free ride card.
There is currently, yes, a free ride card under the RTA's, I never remember the name of it, but the RTA's card system. So there is a free ride system. You first have to qualify for the reduced fine. That means it's 65 and older or have a disability. And then you have to meet a second barrier of applying to the benefit access program and having to be determined at low income. So you first have to be 65 and older or have a disability, and then apply through benefit access to get the reduced income, to get a free ride today. Otherwise, now PACE instituted in 2024 that free ride for ADA paratransit riders who previously may not have been able to access a free ride service. And then,
so the senior, you said 80,
senior
for the full day pass. Does the senior qualify for that?
yes, for the reduced fare pass, there is a reduced cost.
For the all day?
For the all day pass, yes. I didn't print it in my notes, but it's on the one pager that I presented. So there's over there on the page.
And then
it is roughly a 50% savings.
Another comment that may not apply directly to PACE, but people who have a free ride card, and when you get on the Metra at least, you can show your phone app to show that you have a ticket, but I don't believe that the same ability is available to people who have a free ride card. And I think it would be easier for many people to have that, so they can just, so their phone, say that if they might forget their card.
Gotcha, so you're asking for like a digital form of kind of identification for the RTA, so I guess that would be a question for the RTA. And then also a question for Metra, for how Metra manages their ticketing and how they manage the free ride service. It may be, I don't know if Kate can speak to it, Metra, you may just have to show your pass. So if you're looking for a free ride on Metra and you have that free ride certification, you want to make sure to have that with you.
They can do that on PACE or.
Well, when you ride on PACE, if you have the card, the free ride, you
You
have to have the, you have to have the physical card as of today. There's no digital, to my knowledge, there is no digital card for the reduced fare program.
No, not at all. This is why we like having Ed here, because it creates new ideas and conversation. You know, something that the county has kicked around for many, many years now is the fixed routes, as limited as they are out here. In a lot of ways, they're the direct competition to our dial-a-ride program, right? If you're not using our dial-a-ride, you might be using the fixed route and vice versa. So we've thought for a long time now, it might make financial sense for the county to give free rides on the fixed bus routes. Just blanket free rides, because we actually would potentially save money, because then we're not giving, maybe we can get some people that would have taken MC Ride to ride the fixed route now for free. And instead of a $40 trip, it's how much is a fixed route fare?
It's a $2 fare if you have Venture, $2.25.
So could the county pay $2.25 per trip instead of $40 to give free rides on the fixed routes, right? So these are things that we're always thinking through, and this committee has actually had quite a big role in helping think outside the box with some of this kind of stuff. And the 3 fixed bus routes we have in McHenry County are a good sort of case study because they are all within McHenry County, right? None of them travel or leave the county. It's not like we would necessarily be helping residents from other parts of the region. We'd really be serving our residents by giving free rides on the 806, 807, and 808, and potentially saving money for taxpayers, which is kind of an interesting dynamic. And you'd be giving a free ride to somebody who really needs that trip on fixed route. But we would need some kind of leadership, I think, to actually push that idea forward even more than just sort of a hypothetical example. And I'll say, even on Metra, I mean, all of McHenry County is within Zone 4 on Metra. So could we say hypothetically, we will pay for everyone in the county to have a Zone 4 pass on Metra? And potentially, you could save money because if somebody can use Metra for free, they would be maybe more apt to do that than take our Dial-A-Ride program to do the same trip, right, from Crystal Lake to Woodstock or whatever. So there's a lot of really interesting possibilities out there because the county is so heavily involved financially in programs like these. Our incentives are very unique that we're thinking along these lines, right? Could it be cheaper to just give Ed a bunch of money to give trips that way instead? So that's just my little 2 cents here. But thanks, Ed. Any more questions for PACE? And if somebody missed that at the beginning, what Gary was talking about, just a reminder, all the PACE services out here are privatized, right? They're not PACE employees driving the buses. They're not PACE employees answering the phones for the Dial-A-Ride program. Those are all contracted services through a third-party provider. That question has come up a lot during the whole fiscal cliff transit discussion about saving money. PACE has already kind of gone above and beyond and tried to lower costs as much as they possibly can through privatization and contracting services out to companies that are more efficient. So just wanted to make sure everybody caught that at the beginning.
Thank you, Scott. And the last thing I'll add is if there are any events or anything that you'd like to see, bus services, bus resources at, just let us know. Kate and I were at
Woodstock.
I was going to say Wakanda. Woodstock Library yesterday for a nice senior fair. It was very well attended. And we had a lot of people who didn't realize the benefits of having the reduced fare card. I know after talking to me, they turned around and went right back to Kate to get that information so they could sign up to save money on their Metro trip or their bus ride. So we are working to get the word out in any way we can. So let us know if there's any events or any opportunities that we can come present to your organizations.
Thanks, Kate?
Very good, and that perfectly transitions to me. I will make sure I'm at the People in Need Forum and other events to keep promoting our fare cards, and I'll take back that the digital fare cards, we don't have a system. It would be Ventra, would be the current system, but I can take that question back to the RTA, so thank you for sharing that. I have some mobility management updates and some local government updates all in your packet that I'll share. Starting with our section 5310 funding and projects, the public comment for these projects has closed, and they are now going to plan to recommend the program of projects to the RTA board at the August 21st meeting for consideration, and then following approval, award letters will go out, and you can find information on our 5310 program of projects on our website. I do know that McHenry County has applied for 5310 funding, so wanted to bring that up. And then related to the RTA, we've launched a joint development study to leverage land near transit. We are kicking off, this is a 2-phase study to determine whether joint development is feasible in the Chicago region, and if so, what will it look like? And then if it is feasible, phase 2 will commence and the team will establish a joint development framework for the region. Wanted to share this in case people were interested in land development near transit. And then shifting to local government, we have launched our regional transit fiscal cliff hub that's found on our website. And users can find latest updates, learn more about the current budget process, view a timeline, and learn ways to get involved. As Ed mentioned, we were just in Woodstock and a lot of residents were concerned about cuts to Metra, cuts to PACE, how immediate would that be? And just others who have questions can find this Fiscal Cliff Hub on our website. And then We've had several board meetings, like the July Board of Directors meeting, as well as coordinated efforts of the RTA and service boards to address the fiscal cliff through our ad hoc committee on transit funding and then staff-led level budget task force. So that's where we kind of rest with the fiscal cliff for the RTA. And then upcoming on Wednesday, August 13th, we have a Transit is the Answer Coalition to discuss revenue and reform. So although the General Assembly adjourned its session without taking final action on transit funding or reform, both chambers introduced major legislation, so people can join the RTA for a review of some key components of the legislation as the agency works with lawmakers to achieve sustainable funding and reform. So that's again on Wednesday, August 13th at 1 p.m. You can find the information on our website, and I can share the link as well. Any questions for the RTA? That's all I have.
Thank you. And then the Metro updates in the packet. Anyone going to comment on it, or?
It's in the packet. If you have questions, I can forward them to Metro.
I'll just make a quick note. There was a question about the reduced fare cost for the RDP, the regional day pass. That's in the Metro report. They broke it out for everybody. I knew I saw it in the agenda when I was going through it. It's in the Metro report.
That's great. Okay. The new business, so we have recommendation to continue county support for senior care volunteer networks transportation program in 2026 and 27.
Yeah. So if you're okay, Tom, I'll just kind of walk through this for the committee. So our county board likes to make sure anything transit related comes through this committee first for your discussion, recommendation, and Senior Care Volunteer Network's contract with us is expiring at the end of this year. For those that aren't familiar, we have an agreement with Senior Care Volunteer Network, Sarah, here at the table, to provide funding for her transportation program. It's a volunteer driver program that they operate for seniors. It's a county-wide service, and historically we've done typically 2-year IGAs with you, or 2-year agreements with you. And I think the most recent contract is for years 2024 and 2025, and I think it was $70,000 per year. And we as staff are recommending to this committee that we continue this partnership with Senior Care Volunteer Network. And my memo kind of gets into the reasons why, but Terry alluded to something, and actually Gary and I were talking before the meeting. Our Dial-A-Ride program and the Connect program are for folks that I guess are savvy enough and have the ability to sort of be more independent, right? So you have to, in order to ride Connect, you need to know how to use a smartphone and use the Uber app. In order to use MC Ride, you have to be okay with being picked up, dropped off, and being on your own until that bus comes and gets you again to take you home. And we know there's a lot of people that don't fit that that sort of characterization. So some folks need that just extra level of assistance. Maybe it's somebody going into the doctor's office with them to sit with them during their appointment, or helping them shop at the grocery store and then taking them home afterwards. And so that's why back in I think we've actually been partnering with them for longer than this, but somewhere in the 2010, 2011 timeframe, we started working with formerly, Faith in Action was the name of the organization back then. So for the last 15 years, we've been sort of using their program to supplement what we, the county, do. Because their program, and I'll let Sarah kind of say a few things about it, it really is geared towards that higher need clientele, seniors that need that extra assistance. And so that's how we've justified it to the county board and to this committee as a good bargain for us. So I wanted to sort of set the stage for Sarah, if you want to say anything else about this, and then I'll look for the committee to sort of weigh in on whether we should continue this going forward.
Sure thing. One of the things that I would want to point out too is the cost that we are able to keep at for all of our trips. Consistently, we've been keeping our trips, our goal is to keep them all under $8, and that's been a goal for a long, long time. There were a couple of years we were creeping up a little bit, and that was likely because volunteers opted in taking a mileage reimbursement that we offered to them when maybe the previous year they were not. Only about 30% or 70% of our volunteers opt into taking mileage reimbursement, which means 30% of them take nothing. They use their own card, they spend their own time, they're not reimbursed for anything. The federal reimbursement rate for a volunteer mile is 14 cents a mile for a volunteer. We are able to, with this grant, double that to 30 cents a mile. So they're not getting anywhere close to what, you know, I would if I had to go to a meeting and I actually chose to take mileage reimbursement, because I think right now it's 72 cents. So, you know, utilizing volunteers to provide this service is really very cost efficient. And yeah, we put those dollars into helping with our transportation coordinator salary. It covers those mileage reimbursements and a very small portion to help us cover the transportation software that we use to coordinate and do all these rides. Because every ride is booked on a phone call, we don't have any kind of technological barriers for people. The volunteer, we have 20 volunteers who man the phones Monday through Friday, 9 to 3, and they enter all of the trip information, and then we try to fill them all. We have a pretty good fill rate. We average anywhere from 98 to 100% of filled ride requests. We have seen some abandons recently, and some of that is, it's fundamentally arbitrary in the sense that you may have a particular difficult rider, or you know, there's trends that tend to happen where no one picks up the ride, and because it's a volunteer program, they're obligated. I will say when we do get an abandon that they have no other option at all. We had a couple last year, and we actually worked with RideX, which is another for-profit transportation program. We used them twice out of desperation, really. Each one we were billed at $100 a ride because they were billing from where they were sending the cars, and they didn't have cars in this area. So they were booking from like Libertyville or somewhere out here for a Woodstock to Woodstock ride, and then back to, so that was not a very cost-effective thing, which is why then we can help fill the gaps for the people who are coming and try to get them enrolled in MC Connect, making sure they're aware of MC Ride. When we do get calls where people can't, you know, they're disabled and wheelchair bound, or they need that paratransit piece, obviously our volunteers don't have that ability, so we make sure we connect them to those options. Whether they're able to utilize them or not, you know, is entirely up to them, but introducing them to the options is a big part of how we partner, and you know, we do see some challenges with that, like as I mentioned, but we do the best we can. Our services are all free, so there's no cost to the rider or their families. It's not a no cost to us, which is why we seek support, but I think I got most of that. And we do go out of county to destination. The Sherman campus, hospital campus, and medical offices out that way, and Good Shepherd, same thing. So the hospital campuses where McHenry County residents are needing rides to those specialists that aren't in McHenry County, we are able to accommodate those as well. So, any questions I can answer if you want, Scott.
Need volunteer drivers about?
I'm sorry?
How many volunteer drivers do you have?
Drivers, we have 125.
And the trips are, that's one way, correct?
One-way trip, yeah. Yeah, and the average, I wrote down a couple things. The average, kind of comparing to what you have up there. The average, let's see, so far this grant period through June, I guess you have it there, kind of, so.
It's your data I'm using, so I hope
Okay, no, it is. I have 49, but that could be because we do get some offset funding from United Way to cover Kane County Del Webb, because those aren't county residents, so My trips are a little higher because those are included in mine, but 874 clients have received, unique clients have received rides. And then so far for the grant year, 133 in June. Miles are right, pretty close to on the money, although we're counting other miles that are not logged in McHenry County. So we have 74,000 miles logged, and that includes all those shopping trips, not bodies. And then 4,500 volunteer hours, and the cost per mile since we started is 52 cents per mile, is based on this grant.
Is there a limit to the number of trips a person can take?
4 trips per week. And we asked for 3 days notice, so it's not an on-demand service, which is desperately needed, which is why MC Connect is such a good alternative for those people if we can get them that way. But 3 days notice is what we ask.
Yeah, and we, just like Sarah refers people to us, if they can't help somebody, they'll say, hey, go talk to Scott about Connect or MC Ride. We often, on the phone, will talk to somebody and we realize, yeah, our program is not for you. Talk to Sarah, get signed up with her organization, she can help you. So we treat Senior Care Volunteer Network as an extension of the services we provide at the county. I mean, it makes sense because they're paid for by us, by the county, through our RTA sales tax fund. So even though they're provided by Sarah and her organization, we have some ownership of it, and our staff does, as you can see, we track the information month by month. We are very adamant that she's abiding by the contract, and so far it's been a great relationship that we feel deserves to be continued going forward.
I think there's a great need. I definitely see the gap in the service between what McRide or MC Ride and the Connect program and this program fills that gap. I mean, I definitely think it's worthwhile. I'm fully supportive of it.
So I guess what I'm looking for is just sort of a consensus. You guys can take a vote if you want, but really just a consensus from the committee to bring this to our transportation committee at the end of this month with sort of a positive recommendation.
Do you need a motion then? Or?
It's up to Tom, whatever you feel.
Sarah, I think a motion would be.
Yeah, because then I can abstain.
Yeah. So I'll move that we should support the resolution and funding to the Senior Care Volunteer Network for its annually. It's out of 2.
It'll be a 2-year contract.
Okay.
At the consistent dollar amount that it is today, $70,000 per year for 2 years.
Okay.
Second.
All right, thank you. Should we roll call then?
I just note that I'll abstain from.
Yeah, that's fine. And you can just do a voice vote. It's not like you're appropriating money. Just do a voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone abstain?
Can I ask a question real quick? Yeah. Just a follow-up to that. So Sarah, when you had mentioned the 2 individuals that were not able to get the rides, you had to come from Libertyville. Within this contract, are you then obligated to, if somebody calls for help, that you find some way to get them to and from? Or is there ever a situation where somebody calls and you just don't have the volunteers? Or
These dollars didn't support that.
Okay.
I had written a grant to the Rotary Club who helped us offset those dollars for the emergency need for that. I'm actually really proud we only needed to implement it twice in a 12-month period. We felt it was an error on our end, and we felt obligated at that point. We took the ride, the driver called out sick or something that was beyond anyone's control. It was a medical appointment, if it was a hair appointment, that might have been, hey, can you reschedule? But that was something that was what we felt an obligatory promise, to follow through on. But no, those dollars were obtained somewhere else. But
I just have a question for you, Scott. Do you think, is this proposal threatened? Do you feel like it's something that is a target?
I think nowadays, everything is sort of needing to be justified. Okay. And that includes MC Ride and Connect, but I would lump this program in there too. I mean, there is not only statewide an issue with funding transit, but also at the county level, there's questions about what's necessary and what's more of a discretionary type program. And let's be honest, this is a discretionary program. We don't have to do this. Nothing is making the county support this organization. But I think historically we've made the case that actually this saves us money. Like if we had to take all 90,000 of those trips on our program, our cost would be not 670,000, but $4 million to serve those same trips over that time frame there. So I think the case sort of sells itself, but it's still good that we justify it every time the contract comes up.
And the vote will suffice for our committee giving their support?
What, say that again, sorry.
And so our positive vote will suffice
Yes.
to give their support, okay?
Yeah, and so what'll happen is when I write up the resolution for the end of the month, I will include a sentence in there saying this resolution has the support of the PTAC committee and yeah, so it's just more ammunition to use during that process.
Okay, MC Ride Connect renaming discussion.
Yeah, this was Drew's item. He brought this to my attention. You know, Jasmine and I were involved in naming the MC Ride Connect program in 2024 when we first kicked off. And the idea of naming it MC Ride Connect was we wanted people who use MC Ride to know that this is sort of an add-on. This is an appendage to the MC Ride program that's optional. You don't have to use it, but if you fit this sort of need, you can use this other program. And so we thought by calling it MC Ride Connect, it would associate people's minds with the MC Ride program. But I think, and I'll turn it over to Drew, but I think calling it MC Ride Connect, it's confusing to some people. Is this MC Ride? Is it something different? Are they buses? Are they, you know, so I think we just want to kind of bring this to the committee for a discussion about, do you think the name needs to change? And I'll throw it over to Drew if you have any other things you want to add to set this up.
Anecdotally, I suppose, I mean, I've been helping with registrations for MC Ride Connect for the past 3 months or so. And oftentimes I will get people who are aware that we provide transportation opportunities, but don't have the terminology down. And so when I go to explain it to them, I say we have MC Ride and we have MC Ride Connect. And that is very hard to distinguish when you're talking to someone and explaining to them over the phone. Now, a lot of the times folks also say, hey, I want the $4 Uber ride. That's super easy for them to get immediately, and it's very different from a dial ride system. So really just trying to be able to distinguish between the two, I think to what Scott was saying, so that we can more easily explain it and we can more easily distinguish what challenges people are facing and what services they're looking to actually utilize. That's really the impetus for making this name change here. So.
And let's be honest, this committee's not going to name the program. This will have to go to the county board for their final approval. But if you guys have thoughts on this, we want to hear it from you before we bring anything to the county board for their consideration.
I mean, what about MC Ride Plus, or something like that?
That's what
A different name that's just saying this on top of it.
Or MC Ride Share.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Sure, like that.
Jasmine and I developed a list of like 10 names back years ago, and we settled on Connect because we didn't have a good feeling about anyone, and we thought, why not? But I like where we're going with this, some of the names that you guys threw out. And I think that's really what I'm after, is maybe give me a list of 3 or 4 different names that you like better than Connect. That way we can let the county board have a short list to pick from versus just saying, what do you think? You know?
So could I, just for sake of clarity too, the sort of MC Ride blank is where a lot of that confusion is coming into. So again, if your decision is one of those names just sounds fantastic to you, we'll go with it. But my understanding when explaining it to the public is MC Ride as the dial ride service and MC Ride blank is what is easy to get mixed up when you're first learning about it.
So you want to take McRide out of it?
Well, maybe at least the ride portion. I think having MC for consistency as, you know, hey, this is all through the county, in my opinion, is a way we could approach it. But just that word ride, I think, is really the sticking point that is causing the most confusion.
Say MC Plus, MC Share.
I was gonna say, for seniors, plus is a big word, because you have Advantage Plus plans, you have all these things where you add plus, you know, they feel like they're getting something extra, which technically they are.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing that out there, because plus is a big word, that and food, but I don't think you can put that on.
McHenry Plus.
Yeah, when I talk to people, I just drop the MC Ride title altogether. I just call it Connect now because Connect at least differentiates it from the other program. But again, we're open to all ideas you guys have. And we jotted these down and we'll kind of create a list. But if you guys think of other names between now and the end of the month, just send them to me or Drew and we can add it to the list. Is that good, you think? Good enough discussion? I think so. And honestly, none of this will probably happen until next year, so we can talk about it again at our next meeting in November. We kind of settle on something back then. All right, moving on. You okay with that, Tom?
Yep.
All right, so we're coming up on an hour here, so I'm going to go through this a little bit faster. In your packet, I have a memo that talks about the staff recommendation to increase rider fare on both MC Ride and Connect next year in 2026. I wanted to give a little bit more sort of background for everybody, just so that you can kind of see why this is coming forward. Essentially, the fiscal cliff that transit is facing right now, we're going to be seeing fare increases. We're already seeing it with PACE's RAP program. The fare for that program is going up, and they're limiting the number of trips that are being provided every month. But I think even beyond that, I would expect fare increases at PACE, Metra, and CTA and all of their mainline services starting next year. I mean, that's just going to happen regardless of whether they come up with $1 billion of state funding. I think you're just going to see fare increases no matter what. So, because we are the ones that set the fare on MC Ride and Connect, it's up to us to sort of take an action or not. And this chart tries to sort of show why we're proposing this today. So you can see our program started in 2012. That's what this line is. This is what you're seeing here is the fare box recovery ratio, which is how much of the trip cost is covered by the rider, okay? So back at the beginning, the average fare that somebody would pay, this is an average, was $1.28. The average cost per trip was roughly $19 a trip when we started. And for a while, our fare box recovery ratio kept going up. And that the orange bar is the bus recovery ratio. The yellow line is our taxi program, our taxi component of this. So you can see all the way until the pandemic, we were actually increasing our fare box recovery ratio, where I think we peaked a little before, like 11.5% of the trip was covered by the rider back in 2019. Then the pandemic hit, and the riders kept paying the same fare, but our cost per trip doubled overnight, essentially. So instead of an $18.83 trip cost, we started seeing trip costs in the $35 to $40 a trip range. And so what that's done is it's resulted in this negative trend we've seen where now the fare box recovery ratio is hovering right around 5%. So we were at our peak, the riders were paying for 11%. Now they're at roughly 5%. So they're, what that means is the taxpayers are funding the other 95% of that trip cost. And so I guess, I've been here a long time, and internally at DOT, we've always had this unwritten policy where we've strived to have a 10% fare box recovery ratio on this program. And 10%, it's an arbitrary number, but I think it was something that we felt had a lot of support by the elected officials, because we were sort of under the impression that the elected officials at that time, 10 years ago, wanted to see that the riders were paying a fair share, right? And at 5%, half of where we were, I think there might be some room to increase that going forward. And because of all the fare increases that are coming down in the next 6 months, we felt now might be a good time to have that discussion. So again, right now the average fare on our program is $220. Cost per trip is $42, which means the taxpayers are paying for $39.50 of that. You can see where our fares are over time. We started out back in the day at $2 and $1, and today we're at $4 and $2. So we've doubled fares over that period, the 12-year period that we're at now. And our proposal is to increase it $1 for seniors and people with disabilities, and $2 per trip for general public, so people that aren't those two categories. I will say when we first started this program, we had a lot of people who were just taking it to work every day. over the last, especially since the pandemic, our ridership is now primarily seniors and people with disabilities. There are some people that use it for work, but the makeup of those people have gone down. And it's really more of a program serving those who fit one of those two categories of seniors or disabled, which means they're paying the lower fare, right? So more people back in the day were paying $2 or $2.50. Now more people are paying $2 instead of $4. We estimate that if we were to increase the fare by what we're proposing, we would generate roughly $100,000 more from the riders next year, which would offset the cost to the county and to PACE as well. PACE and the county split the cost 50-50. So if you increase the fare by $100,000, PACE and McHenry County share go down by $50,000 each, $100,000. So you can see this year we're estimating we're going to generate roughly $200,000 in fare. Increasing it by 50%, maybe you get $300,000 in fare. That's kind of how I came up with the $100,000 number. Does it make sense? I think that was the only slide I had. Yeah. So that's kind of my presentation. I don't know, do you want to discuss this, or do you have any ideas, or is this totally out of line? Do you not want us to pursue this? Put it this way. Something is going to have to come before the county board by the end of this year on fare. But whatever this committee's recommendation is, I will include that with my presentation to the county board in a couple months here as we go before them. So I kind of want to just hear your thoughts now, and I'll turn it over to you, Tom.
Question? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I have a thought, and then we can, 2 questions. Is the per mile after 5, does that bring in a lot of money, or as part of, I'm just saying as part of this, say it's being increased, but we're eliminating this?
I think the average trip on our program is less than 5 miles. So most people don't pay that 25 cents. There are some people who travel way more than 5 miles. Some folks travel 20 miles on this program. And increasing that per mile fee would generate a lot of money, but only from a smaller number of people, right? So it would be sort of, I don't know, there's probably a better way to say this, but it's not as broad base of an increase. It would just be focused on.
I would say eliminating it.
Oh, potentially we could look at that too. You know, the whole reason the per mile after 5 fee was in there from the beginning was we wanted to incentivize people to take shorter trips if they can, right? And we thought back in the day that instead of, you know, if you're equidistant between 2 joules, go to the shorter one, right? If one's 5 miles away, the other's 7 miles, push the person a little bit to go to the joule that's 5 miles away instead. Honestly, I don't think the per mile after 5 has any, it's not providing that incentive that we thought it was back in 2012. I think now people that need this program are going to take it no matter how long the trip is. And they're going to pay whatever that fare is because they have no other option. So the per mile fee doesn't really factor into their calculus when they take this program. So could we get rid of it? Sure. Yeah.
Or maybe make it after 10 miles, just.
Yeah.
To offer something.
I think that's what Lake does it after 10, I think, is where their cutoff comes in. They have like an increment, I think it's like $1 per mile after 10. So it's higher, but you have more of that base. So yeah, we could structure this any way the committee feels like it's better, but if you want to generate more money, the base fare is where you would get more money.
Scott, just for clarification, for Ride Lake County, the cost of a trip for 0 to 5 miles is $2. For 5 to 10 miles, it's $4. And then for 10 plus miles, it's $6. And then with the Ride and Cane program, there's a base fare of, I believe, $5. And then every mile thereafter, I think, is $2. So that's just how some of the different programs work.
We're all different in small ways.
Okay, Kim, do you want to?
Well, that was kind of my question. I was asking about the 25 cents too, because it seems like not a lot of money for maybe some work. That so I would either do what you're saying is bump it up a little bit for over 10 miles and maybe make it $1 or something, or get rid of it. I think it seems like I mean, I don't, like you said, if it's not keeping people from taking a shorter route, then that makes sense. I guess my other question for you is, and I don't know the answer at all, but can you reduce, or can you increase the base fare but not the reduced fare? Like increase the full fare but not the reduced fare? Like I feel like it might be burdening people that maybe shouldn't be more burdened, if that's a way to put it.
Yeah, that's something we could talk about too. We've always tried to peg it to twice the reduced fare rate, but that's just an internal thing we've always done.
What you're saying is most people that are using it are the reduced fare.
Correct.
So then if we didn't increase that, it wouldn't help.
Correct, yeah. If we just touched the general public fare, we wouldn't be generating a ton of money by doing that. It's that $2 reduced fare, that's really where the money comes into play.
I can put some numbers to that if I jump out here quickly. And this is something I recognize that I didn't give as part of the report earlier, but just to give you a sense of how things break down in terms of who's using this system here. You'll see folks, seniors with disabilities and folks with disabilities who aren't seniors make up the lion's share of the rides that we provide. So just to give a little bit of sense of how that would impact the fare box recovery for this program if we only raise the general fare. Like we'd see some, but again, the majority there would be no impact from.
Okay, thank you.
Did you do it over multiple years?
Yeah, we could look at that too. We've tried to do slow and steady fare increases instead of all at once, but you can see we haven't raised fare since beginning of 2024, and even before that, it was 2019 was the last time. So yeah, we could look at like maybe a stepped approach.
You still get those grants, the 5310 grants, and
yeah,
but those apply to the people, the work-based grants.
So the grant we get from the RTA is a federal grant for people with disabilities and seniors. So the 85% of people that fit those category that take rides on our program, we get half of their trip cost reimbursed to us through this federal grant that we get. The 15% of people who are general public, we don't get any grant money for. So they're just full cost, we pay for them.
Sarah?
So I had a weird question, because I don't remember, but these fares, are they able to pay cash, or is it all through their card?
So it's cash, and I believe, I'm gonna rely on Ed here for the Ventra part of it, which is fairly new.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
I guess I can, are there fees that they pay when they get their card? Like, is there like you're gonna fill your card, is there a fee on top of that?
Processing.
Yeah, like a processing.
For Ventra?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Ventra has a processing fee. When you order a well, if you get the reduced fare card from the RTA, there's no cost for that. You can load money onto it.
Okay.
But you can pay in cash, and that was, I think, historically one of the reasons you wanted to get away from having coins. You went from 150 to $2. But you can pay in cash today, and then you can also pay prepay with Ventra. So if you have your money reloaded on your Ventra card, our staff will deduct it when you book your trip on MC Ride. So the systems are now integrated to have that deduction.
That's also why I didn't go to $2.50 and $5, was because nobody wants to carry 50 cents with them, right? It's just easier for folks to deal in whole numbers. So it's a substantial.
And they need
jump.
exact change, right?
Our buses do not give change,
Right.
so having exact the amount of money you need. If you only have a $10 bill, your trip's going to be $10.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So trying to answer your question as well for the processing fee, I am at the last step of putting $5 on my Ventra card. I have not seen a fee being called out yet,
Okay,
so
cool.
maybe.
And I do the auto reload.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but I was just curious how many levels of fee, like extras are there, so that's good.
Terry, did you?
Yes, I had a couple comments and a question. My comments, first of all, you mentioned that people are not taking the MC Ride to work. And I have from personal experience and from people I've talked to, but I think the reason is pretty clear, that it's not reliable to get you where you want to go on time. And once you get a reputation like that, people don't want to invest in risk their jobs or risk going to a doctor's appointment and getting charged for it because you're late for your appointment and not getting the doctor's appointment. Also, I noticed that you're going up double from what it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And when you raise prices, like for the full base fare, that's gonna be $12 for somebody who goes to the grocery store to get groceries on top of their grocery bill. And grocery bills, as you know, are pretty high. And so you may be reducing the number of people that are able to afford that. But I do have a question. My argument has always been that the dial ride is much less reliable for people than fixed route bus. So my question is, you showed the cost per ride, cost of a ride for average cost of a trip for MC Ride and the fare recovery. My question is, how does that compare to a fixed route bus service? The average cost and the recovery?
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. Pace, so how it works is Pace operates the fixed routes by themselves with their money, and they don't share data with the county on what those fixed routes cost and how many trips are being provided daily. So we have very little data on the fixed routes. We have a lot of data on the dial-a-ride because this is our program. So the short answer is I have no idea how this compares to
It seems to me if you have a fixed route bus, first of all, you can fairly well depend on it getting where you want to go. And you take it and on time usually, with some occasional problems. But also if you're with a dial ride bus, you're limited to how many stops you can make and how many people will ride it. If with a fixed route bus, you're limited only by the number of people who fit on the bus. Yeah. And so it seems to me if you have 10 people on a bus as opposed to one person on a bus, obviously it's less per trip and less cost per person. And also the route buses we have in the county often are not going to places where people want to go to, shopping centers. In McHenry, we have issues where in the center of McHenry where because the bus needs to make a left turn, it can't pick people up on or drop them off in the middle of a road like 120 or something like that. So yeah, they may have to walk 2-3 blocks to get to where they want to go, and if you're a senior or disabled, that's quite an inconvenience. So I just want to point out that we have problems with the fixed route buses also because they're not going where people want to go.
Yeah, I hear you, and again, different pots of money. So you're right that if Pace put more money into fixed routes in McHenry County, could they do it in a more cost-efficient manner than MC Ride? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on where they operate and how frequently. But that's their decision, not ours. I mean, we at the county, we don't operate fixed routes. We don't have anything to do with them. And that's Pace's deal. And so this program is directly under our control, and Pace doesn't raise or lower fares without us telling them to do so on this program. So that's why this is being discussed here today. And I know it's kind of weird having this discussion in a silo, not talking about the other services, but that's just the reality of how these programs are structured.
So this program, you couldn't look at MC Connect with this program?
Well, we're gonna get there next, yeah. So I have another slide too.
I was gonna ask, maybe it's in your next slide. Have you ever looked at, I won't call it priority, because we kind of use that in a sense of critical kind of things and essential kind of things, and then, you know, recreational kind of things. Have it ever been looked at perhaps structuring a fare based on ride type? Because to be not guaranteed, but have a more secure feeling that you're gonna get to an appointment on time, I think most people would pay the extra couple bucks knowing that the reliability was stronger. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there because it takes away, people sometimes will be, if they feel more confident that they're gonna get there, they may pay a little more for that service versus, and you can almost have a dedicated kind of appointment-based, premium bus, and then you have this service, and I don't want to change all the services, but it's just in my brain, and I had to get it out.
We just want to correct some information.
Okay.
We're very proud of our MC Ride program and our contractors. They are meeting and exceeding, in many cases, our standards. They have a 98% appointment on-time percentage. There is a 30-minute window in which that on-time percentage is active. And we are always encouraging our riders to keep that in mind when scheduling trips that are important, such as doctor's appointments and other types of trips. So, if they need to be somewhere a little bit earlier to ensure that they're within that 30-minute window to be on time for their appointment, our team is there to assist them. But we are very proud of our contractors in performing the on-time percentage that they are.
Do you keep statistics on how many people don't take the ride that they want to get?
Yes, we do. We report to the county on conditional denial, so that's when somebody is asked for a time and it's not available. And then we also keep track if we have to work with them. It's a negotiation, so we would keep track of how many denials that would be. So somebody could ask for 1 o'clock at 2 o'clock and there might not be availability. That counts as 2 denials. So we're reporting all of that back to the county. And then we have capacity denials as well. So if we're in a situation.
So,
to Scott. I would direct you to Scott.
Scott's able, or McHenry County DOT is able to get all the data that we have on the MC Ride program, all the different denial types, the on-time percentage, the information that's necessary for the program. So, and I think sometimes in the past it had been included in the packet, like on, performance metrics.
Yeah, we can get back into that. If that's of interest, Terry, we can start providing those data points as well to this group. Yeah.
Okay, what, the fixed route fares, what are they?
They're currently $2 with the Ventra and $2.25. But as Scott mentioned, we're all facing a fiscal cliff, and as part of the negotiations in Springfield, a fare increase is most likely. So you'll see our budget presentation in November.
So 2, and then with the reduced fare, you said is?
Reduced fare would be $1 if you're paying with your Ventra, or $1.10 if you're paying in cash.
Thanks.
And that's part of this discussion too, right? So if I'm a senior and I could use the fixed route or MC Ride, we want to do everything in our power to push them onto the fixed route, because Pace pays for those, we don't. So
it's less expensive for them too.
It's better for everyone if that person takes the fixed route. We want to make sure that our pricing structure reflects that incentive structure as well. So right now, that senior, it costs $2 on our program, or they could ride that for $2. There is no sort of incentive financially for them to do the smart choice. This would give them an incentive to sort of say, yeah, I'm going to use the fixed route instead. So I know it's not a popular discussion, and I hate being this guy that brings this to you, but I think it's something that we all need to grapple with between now and the end of the year when we have a new contract for next year.
Well, we can compare the MC Ride and the MC Connect as
Yeah.
two and two in the same bucket, right?
Right, so let me just quick go through these, and then we can maybe double back. So right now, again, our fare structure on MC Ride Connect is the rider pays the first $4, the county subsidizes the next 16, and then everything over 20 is on the rider. Real simple, we just feel like shifting $1 of those costs onto the rider. It makes sense going forward, just to sort of tap the brakes, so to speak, on the growth of this program to make sure it doesn't get out of control. And to make sure people, again, are choosing the right option for them in the right time. And so really, it's just a $5 fare instead of a $4 fare. And, our subsidy declines by $1. So pretty straightforward. And I'll say this, I didn't include this in the memo or up here, but I think looking at a cap on the number of rides like Pace is doing for their RAP program makes a lot of sense too. We have a cap, but I think is it 8 rides per day? That's what we have now. I think 30 trips a month, what you're at, it's 30 per month is where you're going.
Yeah, the
right?
RTA's Paratransit Action Plan calls for 30 per ride month.
So I
The
think-
previous for RAP and TAP was 8 as well, so that's a model for the MC
Right.
ride was modeled off of
So
TAP.
that's really only 15 round trips though, right?
15 round trips per month. And we do have some people that ride Connect 50, 60 times a month. So there are some people that all of a sudden now, they have to find other options on those days that they run out, of number of rides.
We do have data on how many of those people are on our system.
And there's not many, right? There's a handful, there's probably 5 users that are heavy users of this program and do ride every day to work on this to and from. So that's, you quantify that up, that's 25 trips or 50 trips a month easily if you're just taking it to and from work every day, right? So this is what we sort of are proposing for Connect going forward as well.
If I could, real quick,
Yeah.
maybe you're about to give this, but just the number of subsidized rides we'd be able to give over the course of a year with this change in place. So it'd be about 62,500 and the E4 and 16, about 66 and it's 2/3, so it gets funky, but 66,600 and some change with 5 and 15. So you're looking at like 4,100, 4,200 extra subsidized rides we'd be able to provide in a year. So if you want to break that down per month, I can do a little bit more math, but just to give you a sense of what the shift there enables us to provide to the residents.
With this change, we're not looking to like pocket the money that we're saving. We're just trying to give more rides next year with the same amount of money, right? That's really the goal of this program, or of the change. So.
And then is the goal to keep the same amount in the other program as you kept in the past?
What do you mean by that?
The MC Ride program.
Yeah, so our budget for MC Ride is gonna be, I think I have 2.4 million set aside next year in the draft 26 budget for that, which is more than what we have this year budgeted.
Okay.
So the MC Ride program budget continues to go up as the costs continue to go up. So it's, again, we're not trying to reduce the budget for us as the county by doing this. That's not the intent.
No, I'm trying to compare budgets and
Yeah.
reducing one and raising the other.
I'll tell you, we're increasing both of them for Connect and for MC Ride. Both of them are going up next year. And part of that is we don't know, with all the uncertainty around transit, we don't know if Pace's fixed routes are gonna be going away. Like, there's a very real possibility that the fixed routes, maybe Metro service gets curtailed. Some people that maybe were using those services might have to use this program because their other service just went away because Pace ran out of money. So again, with all the uncertainty, we're sort of planning for the worst and hoping for the best, and yeah, that's where we're at. So I heard some ideas, and maybe we'll put pen to paper afterwards on looking at the other programs and maybe trying to figure out, is that 25 cent, should it be updated for today's day and age? Either eliminated, or maybe the mileage structure can be changed in some way, maybe to better reflect what Lake County does. The McHenry and Lakes programs are probably the most similar out of all the county programs in the region. So it would make sense for us to maybe take baby steps towards what Lake County service looks like, or for them to come to us in some way. So there might be some way we can go about that with this as well. Anything else? People are running out of gas here. I'll go to the last thing, unless there's nothing. So on the last item, we haven't met since the legislature adjourned in the spring session. I handed out just a fact sheet about what was in that HB 3438 bill that was approved by the Senate, but was not taken up by the House. So you can see the funding mix in there that was approved. You can see some of the reform items on the governance and other issues. All of this may not be worth the paper it's on in a couple months when the House and the Senate get back together, but I think it's a starting point of what the final bill, if there's a bill, what it looks like is probably going to be somewhat similar to this going forward. My sources, and I'm sure the transit staff can chime in too, but I'm hearing they probably won't pass anything before the end of the year, and we'll probably kick the can to next year. and that seems to be the most likely scenario. So the fiscal cliff, we're probably gonna go over it, and it's just a matter of containing the damage, so to speak, and making sure that when they reconvene next year, that there's 50+1% of the votes there for some kind of package to fund transit, so. Wish I had better news on that front, but at least now you guys have a little cheat sheet for what was in the last bill. And I can sort of answer questions if there are any on that.
Some things I like about it, some things I don't, but I'm sure that's true for everybody.
It's a lot in there. It's a mixed bag. Even the county, I mean, we've been living this for a year, and there's some things we like, and there's some things we don't like, and it's not all good or not all bad. And when it comes to new taxes, nobody likes any of it, but it is what it is, you know. So, any other questions about that? Okay.
Thanks for this, that was really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Could you email this to us too, because there's a lot of links I can like to click on.
They're actually not links. You would think they are, but they're not.
Okay.
But I'll email them nonetheless. I tried clicking on one today and I was like, what?
I was thinking, I'm like, wow, you're so good with those.
No, and I'll be clear, I didn't create this. I took this from somebody else, so I'll try to reference where I got this from as well.
Okay, our next meeting will be November 6th, and if there's nothing else, I think we're motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott, for all that stuff.
Thanks, Scott.
Which one? About 3.